Hello and welcome to the Happy Running Podcast. My name's Drew. I'm an amateur runner in Flagstaff, Arizona, and this is a solo podcast today. And I want to talk about a runner's diet and the ideal running weight for runners. This might be your ideal racing weight or just generally a weight that you feel like you can sustain your running, but also be healthy. So to start off, I'll go into some stuff about diet. I'll talk a little bit about what makes up a balanced diet, what do runners need specifically, what is bad for runners in terms of diet, and also is going on an actual diet bad for your running? A lot of these things are questions I get from folks that I coach or things I see often discussed online. I understand running, diet and running together often it can be kind of a toxic topic for a lot of different reasons. Some people might have a bad relationship with food. They might have some sort of an eating disorder or something like that, and other people on the other end of the spectrum might have zero problems with diet. But what I want to do is be respectful of people who have differing opinions and just give my perspective on what works for me. And I've definitely been through a few different things that are unique in terms of gut health, how my diet's affecting me physically, and how it affects my training. So I'll start off by going into what makes up a balanced diet. And for me, having a balanced diet is probably the most important thing. Balancing my protein intake, which I generally like to have pretty high protein in my diet. I do consume animal products, so that makes that much easier. Fat intake, fiber, and obviously carbs, because carbs are the fuel that help our muscles perform during exercise. So generally that's true for some people who are keto and they're fat adapted and they use more of like a fat source for energy. That might be a little different. I'm not a biologist. I don't understand specifically how that works. I know what works for me, what I've played with my diet, what tends to work and what tends to not work. To start off with a little bit of my background, I've had a lot of gut issues in the past. So personally, I think that stems a lot from some antibiotics and medications that I took when I was younger. I had pretty severe acne as a kid, and I was put on antibiotics for a really, really long time, which now I'm understanding how that has most likely affected my body. Overall, it's something that I would never choose for my children. But at the time, people really didn't have a good understanding of how antibiotics affected the body in the long term and how gut health plays into your physical health, your mental health, and just general well-being. So for me, the biggest impact of these antibiotics over a long period of time was that my gut was just all out of whack. And it took me a really long time to figure out what exactly that meant. The symptoms started popping up when I was probably like early 20s. I was also heavily drinking alcohol, probably not having the best diet, kind of a typical 20-year-old American. And so that caused a lot of problems with me just physically. I would cramp all the time. I would have these weird reactions to certain foods. I had rashes that would just pop up on my body. I would get hives. Could never really figure out what was causing those things. But eventually, over a period of probably about a decade, I just started digging into it and figuring out what was going on. For me, to kind of go through all those steps of figuring out how do I work the medical system to figure out what's going wrong with my stomach, but also like what am I just going to eat on a daily basis to figure out how to balance things. And that was super challenging. And so it wasn't until I came across someone here in Flagstaff, AJ Gregg, who is at Hypo 2. It's I don't know what you'd call it. I also see Wes there, who is like a physical therapist, chiropractor, just jack of all trades for a lot of runners. His brother is AJ, and AJ does a fantastic job just with holistically working on nutrition and how to fuel the body and work through problems. I figured out from talking to him that I needed to balance things through supplements and also through balancing my diet a little bit. Ended up being pretty simple. I take a kind of, I guess you'd call it like a high dose probiotic. It's called VSL number 3. Great probiotic for people with IBS, and I understand just from knowing a lot of runners that IBS is really common with runners. So if you're looking for like a non-medical route, VSL number 3, I think it's considered like a medical food product, but you don't need a prescription to get it. I order it and subscribe online, and they send me capsules in the mail. Fantastic supplement for me. I also take prebiotics in the form of galactamune, which is just a general prebiotic, and there's a scientific name for it. Actually, see what it is. Galactamune prebiotics for immune health. This is what it looks like, and they are called galactoligosaccharides. So I don't know if I said that correctly, but whatever it is, it seems to help me out and just help balance my gut. So I did a period of time where I was doing a lot of the probiotics and prebiotics. I've since kind of tapered back as my stomach adjusted and got more balanced. And again, that was like offsetting some of the antibiotic issues that had messed up my gut over the long term. So I'm very convinced that that was what happened as far as the antibiotic use. But overall, doing fantastic now. I'd say I'm like 90% better than I was at this point like 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of the symptoms I've had were like just food, like basically going right through me, just really, really fast. I had to slow things down. Part of another thing I do is I take fiber in the form of ground up flaxseed, and I put that in pancakes or smoothies or whatever it is, and that can basically like absorbs water in your gut, and it kind of slows things down. I've tried, gosh, I forget what it's called. The stuff that's in the orange powder you get from the store. The most typical form of fiber that people use, Metamucil fiber, and that didn't go very well. I didn't react well to it. So fiber has been super important for me in slowing things down, making sure that my body's absorbing everything that's going in. At that point, when I was not doing well, I would eat, like, at one point I was tracking my calories. I was eating like 4,000 calories a day, and my body was like, I felt like I was just wasting away when I would pull back on the calories. And now I probably eat like maybe 2,500 calories a day, maybe a little bit more, but I'm able to retain a lot of my body weight, and I'm not actively losing weight just from existing, which was happening before. And I tell that whole story because a lot of the challenges that people face are very different. I know people who have the opposite problem where they can basically eat rabbit food all day and they won't lose weight. And they tend to be, maybe someone's a little bit more overweight or whatever. But all that to say, everyone's going through different issues, and diet is very, very unique to the individual. And it affects your running in different ways. It affects your general well-being. A lot of the symptoms that affected me were both physical and mental. So I would get like really, really bad anxiety when I was hungry, and I was hungry nearly all the time because my food was just passing right through me. So I would be dizzy, I would be really shaky, my body would literally like shake, and I couldn't figure it out, and it ended up being like a blood sugar issue. One of the things I do to help stabilize things and just make sure I'm feeling good all the time is I just constantly eat. My body tends to burn a little hot, and eating lots of snacks throughout the day and also larger meals helps me feel full longer, and it helps me just keep away some of those other symptoms, which is like if I'm really starving and I don't have enough calories in me, my body just kind of freaks out and I'll be anxious, I'll be shaky, I'll feel dizzy, and it's no fun. So a balanced diet for me means something that helps with all of those things and helps me keep muscle mass on, keep my running up, keep my strength up, is having a lot of fiber in my diet. Like I said, a lot of natural fibers. So fruits, I eat a ton of fruit. The fiber in vegetables, just all different types of vegetables that are high in fiber is very important. And then like the flaxseed fiber. Protein and animal proteins, I eat lots of chicken, I eat lots of red meat. I don't care what people say about red meat. I like it, so I eat it. And I eat lean red meat as well, so I'm not like scarfing down fat all the time. And I eat fish from time to time, maybe like once every week or two. I eat fish, and I also eat a lot of eggs. As we have a little bit of a homestead here in Flagstaff, I have lots of chickens, and they produce lots of eggs for us. Super nutritious, and me eating 2 to 3 eggs a day, I feel fantastic because it allows me to get all that protein in my body really early, usually post-run, which is fantastic for recovery. Again, helps me feel satiated in the morning as I get into my day. And the other thing I do is my carbs. I don't really care too much about limiting carbs. A lot of people go on like low carb diets to lose weight or whatever. Personally, and with other people I've worked with, seems like underfueling tends to be a pretty common issue. Some people might say that people overfuel very often because out of a fear of underfueling, but again, it's all up to the individual. So for me, that means I'm not really like monitoring my carbs. I eat healthy forms of carbs. I don't eat junk food. I don't eat, chips and Doritos very often. If I go to a birthday party or something where the kids have chips, and sure, I'll have some junk food every once in a while, but it's not something we keep in our home. We have mostly whole foods in our house, things like oats, pancake mix, which I love, like Kodiak pancakes, because they're super high in protein already, and then I actually just dump like 3 eggs in there and whip it up with peanut butter, and I have like a 60-gram protein breakfast with a really healthy amount of carbs in it. If I need more carbs, I'll add a little bit of syrup on that. I also eat it with a bunch of berries. So generally, I think giving guidance to runners is, what do you like eating? What allows you to get the proper nutrition into your body that you need to perform? And how do you do that through whole foods in a balanced way? Fats are also very important. So I don't hold back on fats, but I also don't eat junk fats. We don't have a ton of seed oils in the house, even though I've heard on podcasts that seed oils are not necessarily bad for you. Personally, I just would prefer to have like avocado oil or olive oil in place of something like canola oil. And yeah, so that's generally how I structure my diet. And, today with videos on YouTube, they're so popular where people have like what I eat in a day or a runner's diet or whatever. I just wanted to put this out there so that people can understand that you don't have to think too complex about your diet. It's more just, what can I do to get the proper nutrition in my body? There's calculators on online all over the place on how many grams of protein do you need for your body type and your amount of activity. And I'd recommend just going in and doing a quick calculation. How much protein do I need? How many carbs? I don't think you really need to know that or calculate that, just because most meals have carbs. I think if anything, most people are getting enough carbs at the end of the day. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be hungry all the time. You don't want to feel like you're always wanting to eat but then holding back. Those, I think, are symptoms of someone who's overtraining and not eating and underfueling. But also those can lead to issues like, eating disorders and stuff, and I really don't want to comment on that. But I'd say just to avoid any issues with food, I'd say eat what you enjoy eating, eat whole foods, eat a balanced diet, respect yourself and respect the amount of activity that you're putting in, making sure that you're giving your body what it needs. That's generally how I think about dieting, or excuse me, that's how I think about diet. And dieting is another question I get. Like, is it bad to go on a diet when running? I'd say exactly what I said before. It's probably not the best thing in terms of if you're a very serious runner, you're running high mileage and you're really putting in a lot of work. Holding back on calories, unless you like really have a severe weight issue, that to me that doesn't seem like something that would be beneficial to your training. So I would caution people on going on a calorie cutting diet or a carbs cutting, unless they really know what they're talking about and they're talking to a licensed professional, which that's not me. But I always am in favor of people eating what they enjoy, eating a balanced diet, and making sure they're getting enough fuel to fuel all of their activity. And so here on to another kind of controversial topic, which is body weight. I have a similar perspective on body weight in that I think body weight and overall body composition, it's a very touch and go subject. You get very strong feelings on a lot of sides of it. That's not something I want to comment on. I think body composition is more important than body weight. So generally having a lower body fat percentage, if you look at averages, you probably want to be on like the athletic range of a body fat percentage. You want to retain muscle mass because muscle mass is going to support your skeletal system and all the functionality that you need as a runner to perform. And you want to make sure that's where diet comes in. You want to make sure you're giving your muscles what they need to grow, to maintain, to stay strong, and support your performance as a runner. So I'd say my own experience with body weight has been that I've always been underweight. It's been challenging for me. I went from, before I started running, I guess this was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I was always trying to gain weight because I felt like I wanted to put on muscle, but all I was doing was I wasn't training the right way. I was probably lifting too much too often and kind of just tweaking little things, not being very efficient, and I wasn't doing enough cardio and running to support my general health. So I was just kind of like eating a lot, feeling really bloated, my gut health was off. So overall, I think holistically, looking at your overall health as being the most important thing. Are my biomarkers on or are they off when I go to the doctor? Like when I get my physical, does the doctor say that I'm healthy based on all of these markers? Or are there areas where I can improve? Improving your diet to improve your overall health by having a balanced diet, and then doing enough exercise to make sure that you have good cardiovascular health, that you're supporting your muscles and just general like strength. When we talk about like how weight affects running, weight is important. It takes a lot more energy to move someone who's very large rather than someone who's very small. So doesn't mean that being very small is the ideal running weight. It just means that what's right for you is having a good body composition. For me, I've found that as I get lighter, I feel weaker. And so once I bring that body weight back up a little bit, I know my range. I know when I'm feeling a little bloated and heavy, generally I'm, in the 158 to 160 range. I'd say 160, I'm probably feeling a little bit heavier. But when I'm feeling very light, I'm at like the 150 range. And if I drop below that, that's when I've been sick and having really poor gut health. So my happy zone is, depending on the time of day I weigh myself, is kind of between low 150s to upper mid 150s. So average 156, feel really strong. I've been able to maintain really good muscle mass I supplement with creatine, I supplement with whey protein isolate specifically, and I eat a diet high in animal products, animal proteins, and healthy fats, and healthy carbs. So for me, the biggest thing is being able to maintain my power through my muscle mass, body composition, again, being the most important thing. Worrying less about weight unless unless you're outside of a certain range. If you're someone who's a little bit overweight, then maybe just general dieting and general health can be your focus, and not worrying so much about how's this going to affect my running, but like, how can I just be a healthier person and make sure I get my diet in check. And if you have, some people have like thyroid issues or other medical issues that can cause weight gain. So figuring out if maybe that's you, or, doctors can tell you that. People on YouTube can't. So, yeah, I mean, those are my general thoughts. Just overall diet, having a balanced diet is so important. Having fiber and protein in your diet to keep you satiated and support your muscles and your strength and your power. Having enough carbs to support the amount of activity that you're doing and your energy levels. And making sure that all of those sources are coming from really healthy whole grains and whole foods sources. And from a weight perspective, knowing your body and knowing, okay, what's the highest weight that I've ever been at? How did I feel? Did I feel overweight? Am I objectively overweight, or am I underweight? And if you've struggled with other issues, that's not something that I'm going to be able to help with. But how do those things factor into your eating habits, and just making sure that you're holistically coming at this from a really healthy overall perspective. So those are my general thoughts on diet and diet for runners and overall running weight. If anyone has questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. This is my first go at a solo podcast, so I'm just talking to myself, and it's kind of fun. Any feedback would be welcome, and any comments beyond things that I touched on that might be sensitive topics. I'm not open to arguing. I'm just open to sharing my perspective, sharing the perspective of others that I've worked with, and being respectful of everyone's opinions and everyone who comes to the table. Just want to be very respectful of that, and appreciate everyone listening in. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button to the channel. I'm going to be coming out with more content all the time. Podcasting is one of those things, general running, like exercise physiology stuff and things that you can know about how to improve your training, but also documenting a little bit about my running journey. I currently am training for the Berlin Marathon, and that's on September 29th. I'm about 9.5 weeks out now, and looking forward to that. Want to run hopefully under 2:30, and how much under 2:30, that'll, the next 9 weeks will hopefully tell me, as long as I'm able to have a good day in Berlin. So give this video a like, comment, give me your thoughts. Diet and weight are something that everyone kind of struggles with, and I know I've had my own struggles. So looking forward to hearing any feedback, and appreciate your time. Happy running.